Now, Rowan, you've written the cover story for the magazine this week, which we've given the provocative title, Are Trees Sentient? So, can you tell us about it?
Yeah, so it's an interview with a legendary biologist called Suzanne Simard. She discovered that trees in a forest are connected by an underground fungal network and that they can communicate and share resources through this network.
Yeah, it's so cool. And as you said earlier, it's what has been called the Wood Wide Web.
Yeah. And even if you've not heard of Suzanne Simard, you will have probably encountered her work and certainly her influence. She was the basis for one of the characters in Richard Powers' novel, The Overstory, from a couple of years ago. And her whole work was a huge influence on the movie Avatar, with the home tree and all that, information network, communication network in that.
Yeah, probably a lesser result of her inspiration, but she also inspired an episode of The Magic School Bus, which my children really love, which is all about communication between trees.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah. But anyway, she's just published a new book, which is part memoir and part forest detective story.
Yeah, we spoke about that too. She's an absolute legend. I had a great chat with her about whether trees are not only sentient, but if they have wisdom. We'll play a little bit now of this conversation. And I started by asking her to summarize the key discoveries she made.
I guess the key finding is that, that trees are in a connected society. It's a physical network, and that they trade and collaborate and interact in really sophisticated ways as a society, as a cohesive, holistic society. Whereas my training and the way I think we viewed forests or any plant community prior to that, at least in, the Western thinking, was that plants are not collaborative and linking. It seems so simplistic now that as I'm speaking about it, but the whole industry of agriculture and forestry is based on that premise that these plants just compete for resources, and that that the bigger you are and the more dominant you are, that's what we want. That's what we aim for in our crop production. But it doesn't actually work that way. And when we force it that way, we see the system start to unravel.
Your experiments have shown that not only did trees share food with each other, but they favour their children. They can transfer food through their roots and through the fungal network to their kin. So do we know how they recognise their kin?
Well, I don't completely know, but I assume it's by chemicals, because when we allow our kin seedlings to connect with the mother trees or their neighbors, with their siblings through these mycorrhizal networks, that we get these kin responses much more dramatically. So it'll change the rooting behavior. It changes their chemistry, like the nutrition of the plants. We were able to trace that carbon in a few studies, so we would label a mother or a sibling plant, and then we would see the carbon would transmit to a kin seedling, but not to a stranger planted nearby, that there would be a choice of interacting by sending carbon to kin versus strangers. And also, like, just if you look at like the sophisticated interactions between plants, and some of that happens through the network, some of it happens through, other kinds of networks in forests. For example, there's transmission of information through the air as well. And their ability to respond and change their behaviors according to this information all speaks to wisdom to me. And, the fact that we have resilient systems, they're pretty resilient, although we're really testing that with climate change. They're resilient because they have these intelligent structures and evolved systems.
What would you like people to do after reading your book?
Well, I want them to want to go to the forest. That's the most simple.
I really want to go. It's really I want to go to the forest anyway, but even more, I want to live in the forest after reading your book. Basically.
Yeah, just go and be with it, right? Like, and love it and care for it and talk to it and show your respect for it. And I think that is the foundation of changing our behaviors, right? Because we are, we have a mass movement towards cities. We've got social media. We're electronic. With the pandemic, we've been stuck inside. and really, to care for something, you have to know it, or to really care for it, we need to know it and get back to it and appreciate it. And I think it will inspire thinkers, activists, NGOs, people to fight for change. And we need that change to happen. So that's ultimately, what I would like to happen. But it's going to be a step-by-step process, and it starts with connecting back with nature.